So, hello everybody, I'm Stefano Arnhold from TechToy from Brazil. You follow the Scene World podcast show.
It's the Scene World podcast. He's him, I'm me. Yeah. How's it going?
Good. Alrighty. So, in a minute, we will talk to Andras Kaptas, and he is one of those guys that is into the Hungarian C64 Amiga scene, and he is having this association called insert-coin that is working on preserving the history of and culture of classical video games and all that in Hungary. And we spoke about the classic video games and the situation of people having problems to get software in Hungary behind the Iron Curtain. So that is a really interesting interview because I think there's not much known about this episode in Hungary, and I think it's similar to our third podcast where we talked to Lobson Alvitas in Peru about the Peruvian C64 and Amiga scene, and so I think it's very interesting that now we have the same here about the Hungarian scene. So I hope this enlightens you and gives you a background about the Hungarian history, which I certainly felt so. So I was very happy with the result. Yeah.
And I'll be sitting this one out. I'm here for the intro, but the actual interview I will not be here for. But filling in for me will be Martin Ahman, our very own beloved. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
So it'll still be cool.
I hope so. Right. So
in the meantime, some things have occurred since we've last been here. So I'll let you start with that.
Well,
we should point out that Joerg sounds garbage right now because he's using his webcam microphone because he had a issue with his normal recording equipment. Just in case anyone wonders why.
Do I really sound awful?
You sound like you're kind of got a piece of tinfoil wrapped around your mouth. And you're speaking through that. But
that will be fixed when I edit the audio.
When he edits this audio, maybe he'll be able to fix that. But yeah, either way.
Well, we did that before,
yes.
And I was able to fix it, so let's hope.
Yes. You sound better than you did on the very first episode, in which you sounded like you were in a cardboard box under about 3 feet of mud.
Yeah, that was the Skype speakerphone that I had back in the day. That was awful. Wow. Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll be dealing with that in a minute. News in the meantime. So yes, you were about to say?
Yeah, so the 8-bit concert with Rob Hubbard is taking place in the UK, in the City Hall.
Cool.
The 8-bit Symphony, and it will be 7:30 on Saturday, June the 15th in 2019.
Okay.
So make sure to book your seat. And of course we will link to that. We will link to that in the podcast description, and we will also link to our podcast interviews we did with Rob Hubbard and Chris Abbott. About this Project Hubbard thing.
Yes.
And this concert is a part of.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
It should be cool. That should be neat because Rob Hubbard, there are some guys where their music that they've done, you can sort of see how Dave Lowe is one of these guys where you can see how the music that they've composed would translate to symphony. And Rob Hubbard is one of these guys where some of it is difficult to see that. He was way more, I want to say, avant-garde with the stuff he did. It was more sort of, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it'll be interesting to see how they translate it to symphony.
Wow.
Some stuff like the Skate or Die theme is real super easy to imagine what it would sound like with real instruments because it sounds like it's being played on real instruments.
Depending on the version of the game you have.
Yeah, the correct version. but other songs, it'll be real interesting to see how they translate that over. So yeah.
Formula One Simulator, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or Commando.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of his earlier works. All right, we will stay in the realm of Commodore, and David Pleasant, the former employee from Commodore UK and CEO
Wasn't he like
and stuff.
Yeah, he was a CEO. He wasn't just an employee.
Yeah, he started out as a marketing manager, and then So he finally shipped out his book, and I received it. And it's called Commodore: The Inside Story, and it also came with a Blu-ray. So that's awesome.
Yeah. He's been pretty vocal about the goof ups in Commodore. So it'll be interesting to see what he says in that book.
I'm certainly sure. Yeah. All right.
There's a what a lot of us thought was an April Fool's joke, being the Commodore 64 port of Farming Simulator, is not an April Fool's joke, and apparently it's coming out on November 20th, which is in a couple of days.
Yeah, tomorrow actually.
Yeah, tomorrow.
At the time of this recording, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a real thing that was actually being made. It's so bizarre that like actual real games, Farming Simulator 2019. If you look at the Wikipedia page too, it's great because it shows all the different platforms it runs on. It's like Xbox and PC and this and that, and at the bottom, Commodore 64.
Yeah, and the press, so like me, I got a real hardware cartridge, but only the press is getting that. The other people get the special edition box that is like 70,000 times produced. I think it was the number, and it's a CD with the image files on it.
Yeah.
In a fake looking like a floppy disk cover that has the CD inside.
They were involved in the development of Farming Simulator too, weren't they? It wasn't just like some dude made a conversion of it. Like he was.
No, they actually paid the group, and it comes with a manual and so on. So it's a real game. Of course, it has side view. You're not on ego perspective, and it has fewer machines, but it is a real C64 version.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
That is awesome. There's a fair amount of this happening. Just recently, the preview version of Limbo was released on the C64, and it's only one level kind of at the moment. It says it's scheduled for 2025 or something like that.
No, 23.
2023, okay, but
5 years, guys.
But it plays really well. I've got Limbo. I downloaded it. I have it on the Mac, and I've played some of it, and it plays really, really well on the C64, and it translates well to it as well. So it's we're seeing stuff like that happen more and more, where people are taking this almost position of irony in that, we're going to make a funny conversion for the C64, and then realizing, oh wait, people are actually going to buy this.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's taken serious again as a platform.
Yeah, and I would love to, see where this could lead in the future. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like, especially with a lot of the things that the C64 can now do that it couldn't have done back in the 80s or 90s. Like I keep saying, I would love to see like an Ultima type game, like a big role-playing game, but put it on an SD card and let like an SD to IEC drive use it. Because you could put you could put a 5 gig game on that thing. That could be the biggest goddamn role-playing game ever released on the C64. And I think pretty much everyone has one of those things now because they're so inexpensive and convenient and I can't think of the word because my brain is just not working. They're ubiquitous at this point, so it would just be cool to see what they could do with it, and it would be cool to see what other things kind of make a C64 blue.
All right. So what else? What else has happened? Wait a second. So what else has happened is that Digital Arrow, our friends in Serbia, actually released a beta of the single-player missions of Equinox Deep Descent. And I know that because they posted it recently for a beta access backers. And I'm one of them, and I have to say, it's awesome. The game is really awesome. It really feels like an Equinox back from the days. And I know because he kept asking me, like, are they ever going to release it anytime soon?
I backed Equinox, but I really don't have any history with the game. I don't have, I didn't have a PC to play it on, and so I haven't been paying too much attention to what it's been doing. But I remember that you were super jazzed about it, and it seemed like a cool game, but I just never really kept my eye on it. So it just sort of feels like, we talked about this a couple of years ago, but every so often I'll get like an update in my email about where it is, but it's like, okay, this was like 4 years ago now. Are we going to do something with this?
Yeah. It took a bit longer than they expected, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a big game.
It's a huge game.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, Errata Online is still looking for people to get support. Yeah,
we've since we've talked to him, the Amiga version is now out. This guy works at lightning speeds. I'm serious. There's 2 versions of the Amiga version out. There's one for early kickstarts like Kickstart 1.2, 1.3. That is a self-booting thing. So all the Workbench is built into it. So you just put a disk in and you start it. The other one is for, I think, 2 and above, Kickstart 2 and above, and that's just the file that you use with Workbench. But it's running and it works and it's cool, and he's right now looking for people to help out with, I guess, getting it more complete on the Amiga. So anyone who's got that ability to do that, and as far as I know, it's pretty easy stuff. I just have no idea what I'm doing with it. Should check it out and help them.
Great.
And we'll put a link to all that again in the description below, so you can go and look at it.
Right.
Yes.
So, from my side, that would be all. I know.
So last week, we were going to do Extra Life. We should address this. We started to do Extra Life, and it did not. It did not pan out for that day. We lasted maybe 3 hours. Well, Joerg lasted 3 hours. I was there for maybe an hour. I do not know if you addressed the reasoning behind it.
No, I just said for private matters.
Okay. So we did not do it. We are looking at doing it again to actually complete the 24-hour a-thon. And when we have a date, we will put it in the podcast and talk about it every place and promote it and get all that going.
Which probably next year. I think it's too close to Christmas now.
Well, it's close to Christmas, but there's always, we could do it at the beginning of next year. We could. There's time.
I guess.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not.
Of course, I guess people are like now focused on
Yeah,
holidays and that stuff.
yeah. The holidays are
Getting
upon us.
Christmas parcels.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Leisure Larry was released. Wet Dreams Don't Try.
All
I have
right.
to say it's awesome. I played it a bit, and the box special version is great. It is in the boxed edition only, released in Germany, but I guess Amazon is helping you if you really want to have it.
Right.
Of course, apart from the German box and so on, the game itself is multi-language, so you can switch between a voice in English, German, or subtitles in other languages.
Yeah.
Of course, I play in English without subtitles. That is my thing. I love English.
Right.
So it really feels like the original Larry games from Zaira. And the Crazy Bunch, the design studio, did a very good job. And Ensemble did a great job with all the publishing and stuff. So really great.
Cool.
Yep. Well, they kept their promises at Gamescom when we had that interview with them, and also they kept the promises of the release date, which is pretty rare nowadays because things don't get released on a specific date anymore. And if so, it probably needs a 60 gigabyte 1 day patch.
Yeah.
Yep. So, that's it.
So, yeah, I got nothing.
Let's jump over.
Okay, they're right there. I'm gonna go and get a snack and listen to you guys talk.
So, welcome to the podcast. And today we are talking to Andras Kaptas.
Something like that. Kaptas Andras.
Okay, Kaptas Andras. And actually, we met you at Gamescom this year because you had a booth in the retro area called Hungarian Pixels.
Yeah, that's true. That was the situation.
Okay, so I guess that means you are kind of involved into the Hungarian games from, middle of the 90s. After Commodore was bankrupt in a way. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the booth to display them, right?
Yeah.
So, how did you actually get involved into having a booth at Gamescom, and what's your involvement in those aftermarket games?
That was an aftermarket game. That was a story, a specialty when Hungarian. In Hungary, because after the bankrupt of Commodore, we didn't know any bankruptcy or something like that back in Hungary, because that was the first time we just met with this technology and firms. So I think you hear about the Iron Curtain. So
of course, yeah.
Political situation. So Germany was split too also. And the whole Hungary was behind the Iron Curtain, and we have very strange 80s, and that age was very unique history in our country, like the others, the Western countries, because all things we have, it ought to be kind of illegal, because there was a list, the COCOM list. Have you ever heard about this?
I think Martin heard about this because when I told him that we will talk to you, he said that in certain countries in East Europe there was a history of piracy with games. But of course, me personally, being from Western German, I was not in touch with that.
Yeah, there was no any legal way to get programs for the systems, and all system was illegal too, because there was a COCOM list. The COCOM list listed a lot of technologies and hardware what we cannot import to these countries. So all of this was just a kind of contraband is the stuff what you can have, and you have to transfer it on a border or something. So we have to uh, mm, transfer it to our country in illegal way. So,
I
so
see. I see.
that was all illegal because it was a list, because the processor of the Commodore 64 can be transferred to nuclear warheads or something. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
that was a strange situation. But in Hungary, there was a lot of Commodore 64 because that time wasn't so that hard like the really hot ages of the Cold War. You mean?
Okay. So how did you actually get around this limitation and import it illegally? How did that actually work?
Uh, there was a lot of people influence for this business, and we have a good connection. So that wasn't me because I was child back time. I mean the Hungarian geeks or the proto geeks or something in this country. So that was the 18, and for the beginning of the 90s, that was a political system changes. Uh, the Iron Curtain just swept away, and we have an open uh, market for the video games, but we have no money for that. These times, all guys have maybe Commodores or Spectrum, that is, and that's all. And for that time, there was any new releases for the Commodore 64, but we have about 40,000 units Commodore 64 in the whole country. So we have a very wide market for the new games, but there was any new games on uh, the market side. So uh, there was some guys who just try to copy uh, the disc and the Magno cassette, and they have already hard business with that. But in 1991, political changes have some change in the laws. We have no copyright laws in the communism because the communism ideology just waved away the copyright because all knowledge has to get from all citizens, all people of the communist countries, you know?
Hmm. Yes, I
So,
understand. Yeah, it's different because you know there's not such a thing like copyright law because the whole political system works different.
yeah, the whole ideology was different because if you have some copyright and you have owned it, right, the others cannot own it, and that makes difference of the people that in the communism. There must no be any difference of the people. So uh, nobody has right to make any special or use something. So that was a very strange situation in the beginning of the 90s uh, because we have no copyright laws. There was a lot of piracy in this country, and suddenly a law just written by the politicians to follow the Western normal law normative. So uh, our the software business has just gone to illegal. In that case, nobody gets this situation really uh, serious, just laugh on it, do the business as usual, but a lot of cops uh, just appeared in the open street market to collect all of these copies and imprison the sellers. And what the fuck, guys? That is what I do in the last for 3 years, and they said, "That's the new law. You fucked." So
Yeah, so it sounds like you fix one problem and then you run into another problem. So
yeah,
first you said the political thing changed and you were allowed to import the hardware legally, but there was no software because there were no new games. And then when you copied the games, so you actually get software, it was illegal to copy the game, so you had the next problem.
yeah.
So I understand that you always had to fight with barriers and to find new ways. And I guess this is what led to Hungarian software companies doing
Uh,
new C64 games, or how did that involve?
there was a software company in Hungary that was the Novotrade. Novotrade was a big communism import-export firm led by the state itself. Uh, and there was a software developing department, but it's a really air story because they are working for orders from the Western firms for devizas, for hard money, because Hungarian forint was not a you cannot buy American dollars from Hungarian forint back in the 80s because there was no conversion value, because in the communism there are no market for the currencies. There is a very restricted way to control the market, and when the free market just arrived, and a really strange situation that was back then for the people. So not new companies formed for creative games, but these sellers who have a lot of money in the software selling business just think about how can we selling software if we have no new software, we cannot copy the software. So there is some guy, especially in the demo scene, who can write legal and brand new game software for the Hungarian market. And there was a really strange product, and that was a product what I present on the booth at back in the Gamescom. And fun fact, the name of the firm who created this game is Comgame. So if you transfer the words, it's almost Gamescom. Comgame GM. That is the name of this very tiny software developing firm, and there was only two persons who making these games, Domokos Sándor and Udvari László. So the first software was The Long Life. I have it in my hand. Have you seen that?
Yes, sure, I see it. Yeah,
It's Long Life. It's a quite decent fighting game for Commodore 64. There is some strangeness in it. The music of the title screen was just stolen from demo, the Commodore 64 demo, and there was an impact some years ago when the original composers just heard, "What the fuck? This is my song," and nobody said that was in a record game. Wow! So we just recognize that if you have no time for develop, you can still in a closed market, because these guys never thought their product will net the original composers on the Western demo scenes. So we have the recent scene releases imported on discs, and these guys didn't know any person or members of the international demo scene, so they just steal some content.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've noticed actually that many of those Hungarian games are actually hot items on eBay when it comes to being priceful. I mean, there are games that the sellers want like 4,000 euros for a single Hungarian C64 game. Of course, in original packaging and with manual and disc, but I really think, is it worth that much money? You know?
In our community, the price of these games about 40 euro, one 10,000 forints. So it's not that hard. The 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 most expensive Hungarian game is the newcomer. It's not more than 100 euros. So if you can sell it on 100 euros, that you are a lucky guy.
Mm. Yeah, but we are talking about the original newcomer from '93, not about the extended English one that was released in 2001, right? That's a different newcomer, because the newcomer that we know over here is the English version.
Yeah, that is the ultimate newcomer or not. Now, enhanced newcomer. The enhanced newcomer wasn't released on the box version, just on the downloadable from the internet, I think.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
the
Yeah.
original newcomer in the uh, collector's box, that was the name because the first print, the first 2000, as I said, they don't plan to pushing more or pressing more, and just sold in 1 or 2 days. And after that, they making another print in the much lower quality without the art box and without anything. You just can buy in a black box with 5 floppy disk for Commodore. That was the second edition, and that was not collector edition. So the collector edition of the original newcomer in Hungarian don't uh, don't. So you can buy it on 100 euros in Hungary if somebody wants to sell it on Watery is the Hungarian eBay.
Ah, okay. So that means if you want to buy any of the Hungarian games, you have to go to the Hungarian eBay, as you say.
Yeah, Hungarian eBay is Watery. If you want to buy something, you just try that.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Well, personally, I wouldn't spend 4,000 euros for a game.
Not 4,000, just 100. 100, and that is the most expensive uh, version. At
Mm.
these games, the long life, it's about 40 euros. That's all.
And you can still buy them?
From the original retailer, not. But if somebody wants to sell it, you can buy it. I won't sell my. This is not mine. This is the property of the Insert-Coin Association. I am the president of this association to um, represent the Hungarian gamer culture. And this is the room of the association. Just look around. There is a very big mess, and there are a lot of stuff here.
Well, perfectly looks like my living room.
It's not a living room; it's a mess room.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Well, ask Martin. If you have a lot of collector stuff, it turns into a mess, you know?
yeah. And it is not mine. This is the chest house of the association. So the kind
I
of
see.
there is a lot of not collectible things because the association it's not about the rare things. It's about the favorite but the latest things. So it's favorite but what we have no any representation on the market.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting that we talk about that because all I know about Hungarian games, I knew from Lemon 64, and then you see screenshots and you can download the games from GameBase and you think like, oh, that are nice games, but I never actually had the chance to talk to somebody living in Hungary and knowing those games, in person. So this is why when we saw your booth at Gamescom, I said to Martin, we have to talk to those guys. It's the first time I see those games in a box in physical existence, because before that it was just a myth. You knew, okay, there are some companies in Sweden, Poland, and Hungary making games for the C64, but you never had the chance as a person outside of Hungary to see them or to buy them yourself. At least I don't think so. I don't remember having access to that. So it appears to me those Hungarian software companies never approached the markets outside of Hungary? Or am I totally mistaken?
There wasn't any market outside of Hungary because the Western people using Amigas, PCs, and back then the NES. And at Hungary, there wasn't any Amiga, wasn't any PC. We just have Commodore 64 and Spacey. We were we are taken over by the decade, by the Western civilization. So
I see.
we was a decade back from the market. So if you want to sell new software, Commodore 64 for the Western country, I think that wasn't any success. So these games have no any translate to any language. It's just released in Hungary and in Hungarian language.
I see. But I remember I was doing an interview, and that was like 5 years ago, with the developers of a Newcomer, and they figured that outside of Hungary there was the retro hype, and that is why they actually decided to make an English version of the game and release it to the market. And as you maybe know, Protovision is actually the company who published the English version of Newcomer for them in a nice box and with manual and so on. So at least those guys broke out of the Hungarian boundary. So I wonder, I mean, nowadays it's even stronger because you have games like Sam's Journey, who is currently developed for NAS even. So the retro market is growing again.
Yeah, it is. The guys who developed the Newcomer and they create the enhanced Newcomer for the public, that was back in the 2001 and 2. So,
exactly. Yeah.
That was before the wave of the retro just come around, but that story, the long life, the Burago Rally, was a decade. That was before a decade. So that was in 1994 and 5 and 6. The Newcomer was originally released in Hungary in 1994 or 5. The Long Life was released in 1994, the Burago Rally 1995, and the Boom, the little children or what? The little brother of the Doom. Oh, this is the shame thing. We all of us just reading about the new games on the magazines. But there, and here's the name of the most popular magazine. I don't know how the light in it.
Well, I can see it, no problem. Yes, actually, you're right. It's 576 kbytes is the software. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's not the software. That was the magazine, and those guys who have invented a lot of to the privacy market, the piracy market in the beginning of the 19th, and these guys who just save their market by to make it legal. So uh, that was a branch or something. The guys who running this business and the publishing, the games publishing, the magazines. The magazines came with always the new stuff, and the guys just like me who has just only the Commodore 64 system, no PC, no Amiga, no nothing, and we saw the Doom on the PC, and wow, that is the reality. And after that, 1 year in 1996, they just published a Doom-like game named Boom.
Yeah, but that's really nice.
The Commodore 64 first-person shooter. Yeah. Have you? Do you remember how the newcomers UI looks like?
Well, I know that I have played. I know that I have played Boom, and I know that it's from 1996, and in demo scene cycles, it's called the Doom for the C64, because people say it's the closest you can get of Doom for the Commodore 64.
There was an advertisement who said the shotgun sound in the Boom just grab it from the original PC version. So if you had and that sound was digitalized from the digitalized sound of the original PC. Yeah, you can see on the Commodore 64.
Interesting, yeah.
That's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
that was the game for us. I remember that was a present to the Christmas for me from my parents, the long life, and the first time when I tried the story mode, I just recognized there is a glitch. If you just do the leg sweeping move, and you can spam it the whole time, and if you can hit the enemy to the edge of the track, that there is a little bastion or something on the edge, you can kill any characters of the story mode. So I can hit the game after the launch of the Christmas, before it was fallen night. So that was a very really short story mode for me, and that was a kind of disappointment.
I see. Yeah, well, what should I say? Well, it's interesting for me that I didn't know that 576 kilobyte was actually a magazine. I always thought it was a software company. So this is totally news for me.
Really?
Yeah, well, as I said, outside of Hungary, we really didn't know a lot about what's going on in your country. So it's really interesting for me to hear all these stories, you know.
This is an original, but it's a kind of 576 of the games back then. They were selling, and there are Commodore 64 games, Commodore 64 cassette, Commodore 64's disc.
Yeah, I see it. Okay,
Oh.
nice.
So these are the Koste, that is the castle. Long Life is the Long Life that I just see. No Limit it's a restoring game, and
well, that's kind of a catalog. That's kind of a catalog for Hungarian games. Okay,
and it's not for Hungarian games. It's all the games you can order from their software shop. So
okay, interesting.
They are running software shops too back in Hungary, and these times in 94 there was only three in the whole country. This is at Budapest, this is at Page, this is at Győr.
Okay.
So three towns, three shops. That's all what he has in physical shops. Anything else is just running by his magazines, and you can order it off.
Okay, interesting. And how long did this Kilobyte magazine last? I mean, if I look at Lemon 64, I see that the last game was Boom in 96 that is listed here.
Yeah, that was the last games. What they published. So that was the end of this business. And after that, they are selling consoles and PC games because the situation just normalized in the country while the really strange 90s. So after the 2000 years, Hungary was a kind of ordinary. It's not strange. It's everything going well in the Eastern normal. So we have a poor country, but if you have money, you can do anything with it. But this is the situation after a decade of the political systems changed.
So you said at the beginning of the interview that you are quite young and that you didn't really experience the beginning of all that. So what made you stick with the Commodore 64 and why didn't you just move on? As you said, the situation in your country normalized, but you kept on with retro in a way.
I moved on. I was a PC gamer until 2006, and back then I was really addicted to the Counter Strike. But I had a really bad splash after 3 days continuous gaming. My mind just fallen out, poof, and I walked below my computer, and I think, oh my god, I'm so addicted, so I have to delete that shit. And after that, I deleted the Counter Strike, and I swear to myself, I'm just playing not multiplayer, so single player games. After that, I want to try the Crysis. I have no good enough PC for the Crysis, so I developed my PC at the last time in my life, and the Crysis didn't run so well. So I fed up, and I said, "Fuck you all." I changed to. I was at the PC Master Race, but back then there wasn't any kind of mem, and I had switched to the Nintendo Wii. And on the Nintendo Wii, I just realized I have no idea what is the Nintendo Wii. So I remember in the 90s there was some shops when you can rent these systems. You have no money to own that, but you have rented to 1 or 2 nights, and you can try the newest games like Sonic 2, Mario World for SNES, and that's on. But that was really far memories at the middle of the 2000s. So after these years, I recognize I had never ever follow any games but PC games. So I feel I have some cultural deficit. So I have to talk to myself to the gaming culture what I missed because I was a PC. And there was a really long journey. Started with the Zelda games, and after that I I explored my old myself, the guy who playing Commodore with his brother. So, and this is how I rejoin or reunite again my Commodore guys, my stuff, and that was a really uh, deep, really deep thing in me. And that was the time when we start to organize retro parties in my living room, and this process is just expanding and expanding. After that, we just found an association, that is the insert-coin association, organizing more parties, explore the Hungarian gaming culture, the roots and actualities, and the between then connecting the new stuff with the old stuff. It's a long story, and it's getting wider like the do now.
Okay, see. Well, it's interesting that you even create an association to, as you said, to preserve and spread the Hungarian culture and history in video games. Because, as I said before, before I saw your Hungarian Pixels booth, I had no touch with the Hungarian game scenes except with doing an interview with the newcomer guys, but I never knew there was a magazine that published C64 games and all the troubles in getting games and software for the Commodore 64 because of the Iron Curtain. Yeah, so that's really very interesting to hear. So what else do you do in this Insert Coin Association? You said you organize meetings, retro meetings, and you spread the culture knowledge around. So and a part of this is your Gamescom booth.
Yes.
So what are the activities in general? Are there other activities we didn't cover yet?
Yeah. There are a lot. We just organize a greater party here in Hungary, and we invite. You know who is Ian Livingston?
No.
He is the creative manager of the Eidos, but his favorite. He is popular in Hungary because he wrote some books where you are the hero. Do you know that book? Highway
No.
for your Death Labyrinth.
Oh,
So
I'm not really into such books, I'm afraid.
it's a kind of game by reading books. Every paragraph at the end, you have some choose, and if you choose to go into the labyrinth, just page to the 69. If you want to talk to the dwarf, just page to the 122. So
Okay.
never played that game before.
No, but I know the concept of that kind of books. I know what you mean. Yeah, I've
So
seen such books before.
Ian Livingstone was the main writer of this style, and we invited him to a gathering, and there was 300 guys who want to meet him. So there was a really long queue to making autographs, and this show was included by a bigger attraction called Arcadia. Arcadia, do you know we have a pinball museum here in Budapest?
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Pinball Museum was the organizer of Arcadia. Arcadia is a really big retro arcade game room with 300 games. So it's really big, and that's open for public only 3 days. So it's a kind of common or exhibition. And the second day, we just organized the stage with cultural programs. It's talking about mm, the connection, the Hungarian literature with the video games. Uh, have you ever something like that, like the Witcher for the Poland? Know what I mean? The Witcher for
Um,
The Witcher is a novel written by a Polish writer, and the Polish game game development culture and the local writers making a really hard community to create really good games like The Witcher. In
interesting.
Hungary, there is no any connection, uh, something like that. But after we just triggered some speeches about that theme, I think there will be some consequences when the writer want to working together with game developers and vice versa, that the game developers are finding writers to write good stories, what they can implement the game from it. Uh, have you beat the game Newcomer?
Yes, I've played the game Newcomer. I
That
actually own the game Newcomer. I own this English version in a box and a manual. Yeah.
Yeah, but have you beat the game?
No, no. Oh no. I'm a really bad gamer. I'm I'm collecting games and I'm doing interviews like this interview now, but I'm not really beating a game. Maybe except racing games. But that's, I guess that's about the only genre I can actually beat. You know,
You,
of course, I have played through games like Maniac Mansion and Zack McCracken. So adventure games I tend to play till they are beaten, but any other action games, not really. And I have to admit, role-playing games are not my favorite genre. But I love Newcomer because it's a technical marvel. I mean, you have this huge intro that is fully animated and you have tons of environments and rooms, and that's just crazy. I mean, the whole game is spread across 14 disk sites. That's like the largest C64 game I've ever seen.
14, just 5.
No, was it 5? Okay, but two-sided, so at least it
Yeah,
would be 10.
it
Okay,
can.
it was 10 disk
And
sites, not.
the intro was two sides in it. Uh, the Newcomer has a really hard backstory, and it's not about the background. And from the point of view of the hero, you just rolling out a really hard and really wide and really deep story. That was fucking hilarious, and that was Newcomer. Um, but we never see any approach like this later or before the Newcomer. So I I speak the owner of the right to the Newcomer. I want to buy it because I can create a really hardcore game from it for the modern systems. And he said there is only one guy who can try republish the Newcomer. It's me. That's all.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay, that's kind of harsh, but I guess, yeah, people want to protect what they did, I guess. Right.
I think that is a really good story, and this story must to reach a very wider mm, audience. After that, I just write a book from myself. So this is my creation of the last year. I wrote
Okay.
a book, but it's not for video games. But there is a lot of influence by video games because my uh, word making is really familiar to the Nintendo games. Uh, in this book, there is a space station where are where they are producing luxury food, and there are sectors of the space station and named by colors. The the green apartment is where the agriculture things doing. The gray apartment where the machine supplies. The brown apartment where the soil enrichment center. And that also every sector can describe by one color. What do you know the Mario games? I think.
Of course, I know Mario.
Yeah.
I was glad that I was able to interview Charles Martinet for the podcast once, who is the voice actor of Mario. So yes, I'm very much in the picture of Mario. Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
if I say yellow, which Mario word came in the picture?
Oh gosh. Well, then I'm not sure if I can say by color.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I can't really answer that.
The yellow is the color of the desert.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if I see red, there is red and gray, and that is the color shame of a castle with the lava.
Yeah, that's true. That lava levels. Yeah.
So it's about the gaming. It's making by a really simple symbol. Because back then the technical difficulties making a more creative and more simpler approach to designing video games. So this is how by writing influenced by the video games to making a space station describe its sectors only by colors.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Never heard about that, but why not?
But how did we reach that theme?
Because you said you asked the creator of the newcomer story if you can borrow the story for making another kick-ass game out of the newcomer story, and he said no. So you said you create your own story instead. That is how we reached that.
But that wasn't that story because when I start to writing this, I forget this story. But maybe my next or my next book will written directly for story for a video game. Maybe we can do some success or not.
Why not? I mean, there are good examples. For example, Ready Player One is a good example where it worked, or Wreck-It Ralph. So, video game centered books and stories. They work out sometimes.
No, I want to write a story. What can be work in the video game? So it's
okay.
not
A story for a video game. I see.
In my book, in that book, the 2148. Oh, I never pronounced it in English before.
No problem. No problem.
But I translated the first. This book has 3 parts, and these 3 parts originally was 3 ebooks, and the first ebook has translated to English, so you can read it if you want. It's free.
Oh, nice. Okay.
No, it's not free yet. When I publish the second part, I make it the first part free. So.
I see. I understand.
But
okay.
But it's cheap.
Okay.
I lost the line. Where I was?
You said about publishing your ebooks.
And no, before that.
Before that, you said you wanted to make a book with a story for using in a video game.
Yeah. If you before that, I like to describe one of the characters of my book. She is a lady at her age at 80s, but she behaves like a guy who was at his 30, who lives at the basement of his mother and playing video games and smoke weed. So it's about the infantilization. You know that word, infantilization.
Incontinization? Not really.
Infantilization. Infantilism is when adult guys making things what they want, like in his childhood. So our generation never really became adults. We are not conservated in our childhood. We just continued it. So we have never become adults. And in this book, there is an Asian uh, lady at her 80 years old, and he becomes like a teenager guy. So in the late future, I think the mankind will be very infantilist or something like that. Have you seen the movie The Idiocracy? Idiocracy?
No,
Hello.
no. But I've heard of the movie, but I didn't see it.
Have it see. In these days, I think that is it's not a comedy, it's a tragedy because we are a very fast we are very fast trained just reaching that state of the society when any any man and any woman will be big and dumb child or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, when you look at how what people say the society, they all say that the youth is getting stupid, you know, less educated and stuff, not able to read proper and stuff. So maybe we are getting there already. I don't know.
We are not less educated, but we're taking the things less serious. So I think when I reach my or what my basis, my childhood, it's about to rebel against to become adult. But now I have wife, 3 children, and my wife he has 4 children, and I am the fourth.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how Martin sees it, but I think when we were at Gamescom and we had some appointments at the business area, we all felt a bit like shies, right, Martin? When you played hyper sports and moving all the time.
It was next generation summer games. So
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. So I mean, that's the best thing of Gamescom. You can actually be a child again, you know. Yeah.
We have a T-shirt design with quick shot killers, and there's a quick shot on it, but I haven't found. This is Jeremy.
No problem. No problem. You can always send me a picture later if you don't find it now. It's not a problem.
Okay. So if you want to kill some quick shot, just playing summer games.
Yeah, joystick killer. Oh my god. But I had a grandfather. He was like a MacGyver. He always repaired them when I broke them. So I could break my joysticks as much as I wanted. It was like, no problem. I will fix it for you.
If you have enough micro switches, you can. So that's not where the VD14 the stuff. Oh, what I have it. And this was the posters of our previous party. And this is the sign of autograph I Livingstone.
Okay, nice.
So that's the and last year we have a party with John Romero.
Oh yeah, John Romero, Mr. Doom. Yeah, that's the next guy on my list to interview. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What is the timetable? So now you want to call him?
No. We will have the appointments in December or early next year, so it's not happening anytime soon. Because his wife wrote me they are always busy traveling, so it won't be easy to find an appointment where John Romero has time.
If you speak with him, please say hello in my name.
Of course, I will. Yeah. So
I have posters too with his face, with Obey the Master. Obey the Master, but I haven't found any shit in the map. No, I have no clue where it is.
No problem. Anyway, interestingly for me, John Romero was always the guy who did Commander Keen, because that is one of the first PC games I played as a child.
Because that was maybe the first PC game what was worked. The first platformer.
Yeah,
PC.
I played it on my school computer, and of course at school they wouldn't have Doom, So Commander Keen was a lot more child friendly and school friendly compared to Doom, of course. Yeah.
Back at school, the elementary, we played the Prehistoric 2.
Yeah. Right.
Do you know the Prehistoric?
No. Is that another game?
It's not Hungarian. I think that is the Prehistoric is from Telemus. Not Telemus.
Okay.
Telemus it created the creatures. Just fuck. Who created?
Titus.
That was a red fox in his logo.
Yeah, Titus.
Titus? Okay.
Yeah, he was interactive, yeah.
Okay.
I have no internet now, so I'm just sitting.
Well, we have.
I know the game Prehistoric is, of course. I played on the Amiga. Yeah.
That was a really good game, and that's what our informatics class is about: the stunts and the prehistoric. So we learned those two CD games, yes, and pre2.exe, and the prehistoric just began to in play.
Interesting. So it's good that I have Martin here. He knows that. I didn't know that. When I was a child, like I don't know, 8 or 10, I was always happy when the PC teacher said, the computer teacher said, okay, now you have some playtime. You can start Commander Keen. I was like, yeah, Commander Keen. That was my childhood memory in elementary school. And of course, when we were like 16 and the teacher didn't see it, we installed Duke Nukem 3D.
Wow. But that was back at 1996. How was
exactly that? 1996 when I was 16.
Yeah. So then you are older than me.
Yeah, well, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 36.
I'm 36 too.
So same age. Same age, yeah.
Same age, but in 1996 I was 14.
14?
Yes.
Okay, of course it depends on at which month you have your birthday. I have my birthday in March.
And I'm in October.
Ah, okay, the other end of the year. Okay, that makes sense.
1982, but
I see. In October.
1982.
Yes, me too. My birthday is in March 15th,
Yeah,
1982. Yep. Same
yeah,
year, but different month. Okay.
the
Right.
same.
Right.
One story more. Uh, this magazine,
Mhm.
the 576. Do you know how this number calculated?
Well, I'm not a coder or something, but I guess it has to do with, don't know, memory or disk space or anything.
It it's it's memories, but the combined with two computers. The Commodore 64 have 64 kilobytes, and Amiga, how many that have?
I don't know. Martin is our Amiga guy.
520. If you add the two numbers, 520 and 64, and you got 575. Six. So,
Okay, interesting. So
so
it's
this is the origin of the name, and the guys who founded this magazine have a kind of enterprise called the Prosorg. A Prosorg when almost all of the Hungarian pirated discs uh, from these guys. That was two guys or three. Uh, and if you write him a letter, you want to these titles, and you just put the money in the envelope and send there, and at the turn of the post, you will have the the games what you want. And the first 2 years of this magazine, it's about to advertise uh, their company to just write us the letter. We have this list of the games, and if you want to, just send the price. And they have a lot of money on it. But after when the copyright law uh, established at Hungary, they switched really fast, and that was a guy who who is whose name is Martin. Martin just published an article, one of his magazine, to say, guys, we are legal now, and we are proud legal, and there was no any law breaking methodology in our history, blah blah blah. Uh,
of
I
course.
and that was the time I really hated that guy when I reading that shit. But I was only uh, 12 years old, and I feel this guy is shit. And this guy have a really long story. Uh, he became a bitch of the publishers, and back then all titles have uh, points above 8%, 80
Okay.
percent.
So only good ratings. I see.
Because okay, because if they don't write good ratings, they won't get any testing. Uh, mm,
You mean a
testing
testing
test.
sample? You mean a testing
Yes,
sample?
and this guy just wrote then. If you want to be a bitch, and you don't have to cry when you are fucked. And this was the art poetic of this guy. And after that, they running another magazine, like the local PlayStation magazine, and there was lots of youngsters, Martin Jugend, because every internet forum, if you say any bad word about the Sony or the PlayStation, you will got the Martin Jugend on your neck to beat the shit out of you at the the internet forums. So there are some really interesting characters about the stories of the dark ages of the Hungarian gaming.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, seems to be a hard business, you know. If you are not allowed to say a bad word and stuff, and otherwise you have to be afraid of risking your neck.
Yeah,
That's really heavy stuff there.
that's what. But nowadays we have a quite decent culture on the internet. So I read some American forums. The Americans gone crazy, really. The alt-right, the SGV. What the fuck are you doing now? I just read it. What? In Hungary, we have a quite of peace. We have no culture war or something on the internet. We have peace now. But back then, there was a really harsh uh, fanboy war triggered by this Martin guy. That was really shit.
Okay.
But these days are gone, I think.
And so nowadays you are more concentrating on the peaceful method of spreading the word and keeping the history alive. You know, I guess a lot of people outside of Hungary would be envy you for having boxes of all those Hungarian C64 games, you know.
But I don't have much because I don't collect these things. I have what I want to present on the booths. So we are doing all of these games for the famous gaming consoles and gaming platforms of the past. So we have to preserve by presentation. It's not preserved by collecting things. So we don't have that much titles, and these are the titles what anybody has: Star Wars Racers, GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Cruising USA. It's not rare things. It's not uh, expensive things. I have a rule at the association: we don't buy retro games what have price over €10. So
Okay, I see.
if some games what I can't below €10, I won't get it.
I see. I see. So let's talk a bit about your presence of Gamescom. How did you actually get involved in having a booth of at the retro area at Gamescom and presenting the games as Hungarian pixels? As you said, Hungary was quite isolated. So, did they get in touch with you, or did you find them, or how did it work out?
Last year, I was at the booth of the Vakon, the Moment 4. Have you been there last year?
Yes, I have been at last Gamescom, but I didn't see you last Gamescom. I didn't meet you.
But only for 2 days.
Okay.
It was another Hungarian booth at 2015, the Moment 3. That was a Hungarian documentary about the Hungarian gamer business, the beginning of the Hungarian gamer business. Do you remember that booth?
Yes, I remember that the movie was actually shown at the retro booth also.
Yeah, and the guy who ran that booth, he was alone, and he asked me to hop in for some days at Gamescom because he was alone and he wanted to some company or party. The guy was alone at his booth because nobody accepted the invitation of him to go to the Gamescom for a work week.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, of course, it's very stressful.
Yeah, I put my hand on, and I have 3 days, and I like to see what is Gamescom. So mm, I I just run to the plane and buy the ticket and arrive to the Gamescom at night. And I was sleep in his car on the rooftop for
Oh
a
my
few days.
God. Okay.
And the guys just bring my retro music uh, stuff to the Gamescom, and I make a. I think that was only two occasion at the retro music stage. So I have a band, a one person band, the Double Score Dungeon, and I made a show for 2 times last year. And after that, these guys, Matushik Pilad, just uh, make me in contact with René Meyer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
With René Meyer, and I said next year maybe we can do a show, a booth to presenting the Hungarian retro culture specialties, and that was a deal back then. And this year we just uh, uh, making our words. So I'm the man of words. If I say something, I will do that. So my wife didn't wasn't so happy, but and for a whole week uh, she remains here with 3 children. So uh, that was a hard week for her too, and for me too at the Gamescom camp because I was drunk in every night with the local guys. So that was a good experience for me. And all days I have a gig at the stage, so I have three, no, four uh, act and the double score dungeon at the stage.
Mhm.
Have you heard me to play on
Um, Not me, but I think Martin did, right? Because Martin, you told me about it, right?
Yeah.
two of you?
Yeah.
There
Well,
is some on the internet. Double score dungeon record. There is some double score dungeon record on the internet on from the Gamescom stage.
Okay. You mean there is a recording on the internet of the Gamescom stage?
Not me, the others, and upload it to the internet.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think while you played, Martin was walking around and I was at the booth at our Scene World booth, I think.
Yeah.
What's your next plan after Gamescom? I mean, do you have any future plans, or did you reach everything you had in your mind and you are happy now?
No, there is no any goal what I can reach because I have no goals. I just have a route to walk on. The next big thing, the next we organize parties. Our big parties is PixelCon, and that was there the PixelCon,
Mm-hmm.
and in Hungary. Next year I want to invite some really uh, famous YouTubers, AVGN or 8-bit guy, don't know. Uh,
Oh, the 8-bit guy. Yeah, of course. Who doesn't know him?
Mhm.
but have we enough fans, local fans, to create enough money to invite him for a show? So we have some do some calculations and invite him, and after that he had to accept our invitation. I think AVGN can be a bigger stuff like 8-bit guy, but I'm more interested in 8-bit guy because he's genius. I really like his show.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The angry video game nerd is really hard to catch. That might be very hard to get him to Hungary. I guess 8-bit guys is a lot more likely that he would come to Hungary to your event, I think.
Maybe or maybe not. My specialty to surprise the local fans. How did you invite John Romero? I was drunk at Pixel Heaven at Warsaw, and I just typed him a message on Skype. Do you want to come to Hungary to the next year? And after that, yes, typed to my wife because she's my manager. Okay, and I typed a message to his wife while I was drunk at a game geek party at Warsaw, the Pixel Heaven. So this is the beginning of a story, and other stories is about typing emails and messages and so on. We have some references, and I think we have a mm, so we seems to be cool. We are not professionals. Uh, I don't speak any official language because you say how can I speak in English and how can I write? So maybe it's a kind of catchy for the native English. Who the fuck is that guy? And after that, I send the references and show. See, this is the party. How we going? We can do really good parties because the pixel cons in the beginning in the afternoon it's a family friendly party, and after 9 p.m. We became it's kind of disco, and this is why we do the party hard, like in the demo scene.
Oh yeah. I've been to demo scene parties before.
Yeah,
I know parties. Yeah.
it's really similar to demo scene, but it's about just games. It's not for the demo scene is a demo for it's for demos, nothing more. I think the games is for gamers, so it's a more interactive stuff. I really like the guys at the demo scene. I really like. I've written a demo too. I've with a wide competition of function this year. You can see it if you want at the YouTube too. That was. Have you seen the Pixel Cube? That was at the our booth too.
No, not really. I have to admit I have visited your booth with Martin at the last day of Gamescom, as one of the last things actually.
But there was a cube with a maze game on it. Yeah. And I've written a demo for that hardware, and just put it down on the table, and the demo was bigger, and the other says, "What the fuck is that?" I just squeezed the shit out of this hardware, and that was a really spectacular demos on 32 by 32 pixels by panels.
So maybe Martin, you can explain what you saw because I didn't see it.
Hey, it was this cube, and you had this little maze game, and you had to go through the maze by rotating the cube. Actually,
that was
this is what I saw. Pardon?
Yeah, that was it.
That's it. Yeah. But I never had the chance to play it because always when I watched over to the booth, and one guy was playing with it. So
yeah. That was a big thing on our booth.
Yeah.
There was an article what I read about the Gamescom, what mentioned our cube by the retro stuff has more invention than any other stuff. And I was so proud. Yeah, the retro guys have the inventive is something.
Yeah, it's actually true. Because every year I hear that the retro area of Gamescom is the most liked area of Gamescom for all visitors.
Because
So
it has no queues.
yeah, yeah. And my experience with Gamescom is like, uh, when parents force their kids to go through the retro area and tell their kids like, this is what we had when I was a child. And I played games on this 80 years old hardware. So yeah, I totally can relate to that.
We are saying about history, and history is always written. So I think we can speak this topic about for weeks to never reach the same point. But if you want to ask something for your gut, and just do it.
Where can actually people find more about you? Do you have any internet presence or social media?
In English, no. The Double Score Dungeon has a Facebook page where I communicate in English, but the insert-coin is for the local guys, so it's not for the international public. So if you want to try about the Google Translate, you may do a search for Insert-Coin Egyesület. Insert minus coin.hu. This is our website.
I'm so happy that you talked to us. I learned a lot today about the Hungarian video game history and all the scenes and all that. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, a whole knowledge gap is closed for me now. Thanks a lot. So of course I will take a bit of time to edit that, and I will let you know when we release it. Okay?
Okay. I think I create you a really hard job to cut my English mumbling.
No problem, no problem. It will sound perfect after I'm done with it. No problem, don't worry. We never had any problems with that, so it's all fine. I'm very thankful that you took the time. So thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot to me too. Bye.
Bye bye.
So that was it. History lessons about Hungary.
Cool.
Great.
Yes, I'm caught up. I've learned so many things.
Nice. Next time we talk about C64 on the moon.
Yes. The moon scene.
Alrighty. Oh, great. Okay, so see you in the next episode. Have a nice day, or night, or morning, or whatever you do.
It's always morning it's always night on the moon.
Nice. True. Okay, see ya. Bye bye.